Okay, it seems that we are live now, and it's right now. It usually takes a few minutes before people start popping in, but we're not going to worry about that because this broadcast will be recorded and uploaded to our page for future reference. Okay, so that's one thing. So welcome everyone, welcome the audience to one more episode, one more edition of our weekly broadcast. Dojo Live. Right now, we're broadcasting, as opposed to other recent Dojo Live sessions, we're broadcasting from the Hermosillo headquarters at Nearsoft. And I really want to thank Mr. Bob Fitz. He is the founder and producer of SUP-X Startup Expo. He's going to be here with us today talking about, well, for one thing, about the expo itself, but also he's going to be providing us with very, very valuable advice about how to succeed at funding or at a tech startup. And on the other hand, I want to thank my teammate and coworker Brenda Bonilla. She is going to be the co-host for this session. And Brenda is, I invited Brenda because she's been very successful in precisely in the startup scene, and she also is the founder of Desde el Ring, which is a box theme related website. Brenda is going to talk to you about it. And so welcome both of you, Brenda, welcome Bob. And now I'd like to, before we continue or before we actually jumpstart the session, a quick reminder for the audience. Remember that if you're watching us through YouTube, or on our page, you can interact with us. You can ask questions right there on the Q&A window that you can access by clicking on the little link that's on the lower left-hand side of the screen. Just click there, follow the prompt, and it'll take you to a Q&A window where you can interact with us. So send us your questions, and we'll be more than happy to run them by Bob or Brenda, and it'll make it more fun for all of us and enticing. Okay, I'm really excited about this. So, Bob, let's go back to you. Bob, so why did you start? How did you start SUP-X Startup Expo? What was the motivation behind this endeavor of yours?
I run a nonprofit here in South Florida called the Gold Coast Venture Capital Association, and it's a 31-year-old organization whose mission is to grow and enrich the startup ecosystem that we have here in South Florida. And when I got involved with the organization 2 or 3 years ago, frankly, the organization was in trouble. And we were doing a variety of things to try to reinvigorate the organization and make it more relevant to our ecosystem. And that included a variety of things, such as we hired a graphic designer and came up with a new logo. We created a new website. We put in a new CRM system. We changed about everything you could change: our business model, our pricing, our membership benefits, a lot of things, but including we tried to create better events to make us more relevant to the players in the ecosystem. And we focus on producing events, about 8 a year, that bring together investors, entrepreneurs, and service providers in South Florida. And one of the events that we created was an expo. And I had gone all over the state of Florida to other people's events and saw the better startups and recruited some of them to come and be a part of our event. And we did the event in February, which in South Florida, the weather is amazing in February when it's really terrible everywhere in the U.S. And as a result of that, we have a lot of people from the northeastern U.S. investment community that have homes here, and then others that travel here. And so it's a great time of year to do an event when investors will be here to the benefit of the entrepreneurs. And so we recruited 25 startups, and we had about 15 corporate sponsors, and each of the sponsors paid like $1,000 for a table, and there was really no programming. It was just we were going to promote it as much as we could to try to drive traffic and it would be a great opportunity for the startups that were exhibiting to meet not only investors, but also to meet potential customers or other technologists or partners, etc. And that event was hugely successful for us. The very first year that we did it, we had 350 people turn out, and no one would really partner with us because the organization had been kind of tired, if you will. But that event kind of started to turn the organization around, and we created some other events that were also successful. The second year that we did the expo, we had over 600 people turn out, and it was at that point that I knew that there was a demand for that event at that time of year, and I decided to rebrand the event to give it a name that was not so geographical oriented. We had named it after the organization, and so we rebranded the event to SUP-X, which is SUP-X, SUP-X, the StartUp Expo, and that is a 2-day international startup conference, primarily geared toward the early stage segment of the startup world, startups that haven't raised their Series A round yet. Although anyone can come, that's really the focus of the event, and we will have between 1,500 and 2,000 startup and early stage entrepreneurs, angel and VC investors, and then service providers that are interested in those communities, as well as just others that are interested in startups from throughout North America and really, Central South America and the Caribbean as well. But the primary market has been North America in terms of marketing. So that's how we got our start, and we're excited. So this will be the first year it has been produced under the SUP-X brand, but it'll be the third year that we've actually produced the event.
Okay, excellent. All right, so I am assuming that, needless to say, right, because it's a technology, we're talking about tech startups. I'd like to ask you before we move on to other topics is your constituents, all the exhibitors and all the people who actually attend this particular event. What percentage of the attendees are actually from outside of the U.S.? For example, from Mexico, from Argentina, from other countries in Latin America?
Well, that's a good question. It's kind of hard to answer because in the past 2 years, it's really just been a Florida event, and even last year we had people from 4 countries and 9 states, and so it remains to be seen how many people will not be from Florida this year and not even from the U.S. My intuition tells me that probably 30% of the audience will not be from Florida. And of that 30%, in terms of numbers, I would think that we would get a lot of Canadians, we would get some Mexicans, we would get dribs and drabs of people from other places in Central and potentially South America, and some people in, say, Southwestern Europe and maybe the UK. But having said that, I still think that probably 90% of the audience will be people from the U.S. this year. I would like it to be more international, but I think it's a reasonable progression for it to slowly become more international over the next 3 to 4 years, and it's not going to dramatically change in 1 year.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And what about we're talking about the exhibitors, we're talking about technology companies, but what about for example, in terms of networking, or in terms of say companies in Mexico who provide engineering services want to attend to network, how do you see that as a possibility, or what is the benefit of doing so?
Well, first of all, we're going to have between 1,500 and 2,000 people there, and of those, I would expect that probably 33 to 45% of those are startup and early stage entrepreneurs, and that is startups of businesses that have less than, say, $3 million, $4 million in revenues. And so that's third to nearly a half of the audience. 20 to 25% of the audience I would expect to be investors. and those are high net worth individuals, angel investors, seed series investors, and some VC investors. I think the majority of the investors will be angel and seed series investors given the nature of the organization, but there will be some VC investors. And then the balance will be service providers like your company and others that want to connect with either the startup community or the investors who own lots of startups through their investment vehicles. Mm-hmm. It's designed to have high quality content in several areas. Education, we're very focused on the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is the focus of this event. So we have an entire day of workshops that are geared toward educating founders and owners and participants of startups. We start off with a forum for women entrepreneurs and women investors for a half day. And then in the afternoon, we have workshops for investors on very pragmatic subjects to teach them, how to really run a startup better. So we have a workshop on raising capital. Obviously, all startups want to talk about is raising capital, but we have other workshops on perfecting and executing go-to-market strategies, and also on creating an A team on a shoestring. But that evening is our opening reception, and you had asked about networking. We have a 45,000 square foot exhibition space, which it's enormous. I don't know how to conceptualize to people how that is, but it's a couple of football fields. And
That's pretty large.
Yeah, it's gigantic. We'll have room for 150 or more exhibitors in there, and that's where the opening reception is. And it's designed to give great exposure to those that are our exhibitors, and it's also supposed to be fun. I mean, if people are going to fly here from all over wherever and drive here, we want them to have a good time, and we want them to meet people. Look, I go to lots of conferences myself, and my favorite part is the networking. Maybe that's just my personality, but I love meeting talented people who have similar interests as I do from all over. And in terms of companies like yours and others, we want our exhibitors to connect with our audience. It's a very well-educated, highly motivated, technology-oriented audience, whether they're on the startup side or the investor side. We want to create a forum where they have the ability to connect with firms such as yours.
Okay, great, Bob. Finally, what's the URL that you would like to share with our audience if they want to learn more about SUP-X Technology Expo?
It's
StartUp Expo.
It's SUP like startup, SUP -X.org.
Oh, okay.
SUP-X.org, or it's just
there you go.
Yes, exactly. Very good.
This is a low tech approach.
No, it's a brilliant one though, and I appreciate it.
Well, it's kind of refreshing. We like to do those things every once in a while, and just keep a pen, a non-digital pen handy.
It was very effective. Thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't have written a better ad myself.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. It's SUP-X.org. SUP-X.org. That's where you're going to be able to find all the relevant information about this particular event. Now, I'd like to pass on the mic to Brenda, but let me prompt Brenda in this regard. From your standpoint, Bob, I already mentioned that Brenda is founder of a startup here in Mexico with a very large audience all over in many countries.
Sure.
Okay. But she's at the early stages of her startup, although it's grown over the last few years, but it's still growing and evolving. So from your particular standpoint as an entrepreneur yourself, although it might be in a different realm, but you're an entrepreneur, you are organizing this event for tech startups. What piece of advice would you give younger entrepreneurs who actually want to get their ball rolling with their projects, such as Brenda, for example? And then, Brenda, I'm going to pass on the mic to you, and then you can ask your questions. Ask away.
Well, I have kind of a different way of answering. I would say to any startup that before you get into it, I think you need to be realistic. TV shows like Shark Tank here in the U.S. and does it play there too? Or are you familiar with the show Shark Tank?
To be honest, not right
No.
now. It doesn't ring
Okay.
a bell
Well,
right now.
it's a hugely popular television show here in the United States where there's 3 or 4 judges, just like a startup competition, and they're very famous, and people go and pitch their ideas, and and then there's all these stories written about what we call unicorns here in the United States, which are startups with billion-dollar valuations, and so there's all this emphasis on raising money and becoming a unicorn and having a billion-dollar startup and being Elon Musk and building rockets and driving fancy cars and owning boats and being there's a glamorization of the startup world. It's total BS, as we would say in the States, is what I'd say. If you're a startup, I think you really need to understand what you're getting ready to get into, and that you don't need to lose sight of your vision or let go of the passion you have, because it is going to be way harder than you might think, and that's okay. Very few companies only 1 in 10,000 startups ever raise VC money, ever. So forget being a billionaire. There's only a fraction of a percent that even end up raising VC money. So you need to be realistic as to what the outcomes are. Now, I love being in the startup world because I love being surrounded by bright, intelligent, talented winners who have these amazing ideas and a passion for them, and they want to advance them. It's fun to be around people like that, and it's good for society that they exist. So I never want to talk about things that can dampen their enthusiasm. I also am by nature a realist, and so all I would say is it's going to be a lot harder, it's going to take a lot longer, the likelihood of you being a unicorn is teeny weeny. Have realistic outcomes and understand that it's going to be a tough slog. You're probably going to have to bootstrap it for 2 to 3 years before you can ever raise money, and you have to be willing to work a job and work on your startup at night and on the weekends. And raising money will be incredibly hard. And if you're willing to go through all that and you understand that up front, then embrace your idea, embrace your passion, and go for it. But don't watch startup TV shows and read articles in TechCrunch and think that you're the next unicorn, because even if you're not, it doesn't mean you're a failure. You can have a wonderful life as a startup building a company that makes hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million or some other amount, and it's still a great, amazing startup if you think about it relative to what your other life would be. Don't think that you have to have a startup that's the next unicorn to be the measure of success. If it motivates you, awesome. Just realize that the chances are, well, way less than 1 in 10,000.
Alrighty. Well, there you have it, Brenda. I think that combining your degree of enthusiasm with some realistic expectations, just like Bob said, I think you're going to have a winner eventually, regardless of the financial outcome. So I totally agree with that. I'm kind of have that vision myself. But enough of the talking on my end. So Brenda, what do you think about all this? About what's your view on what Bob is saying, and specifically within the framework of the topic of today, which is how to succeed at a tech startup? So, what is your view, Brenda? What would you ask Bob? Brenda, you are on mute. You muted yourself.
Sorry.
That's all right. All right.
Bob, is a startup the number of many followers and visitors? Who, what recommendation try to make in fortify? Uh, uh, Carlos, help me.
Sure. That's what I'm here for, Brenda. So no biggie. So you were asking me about
Is um, the startup
uh-huh.
is other level. Uh, when when the bueno, if a startup has a number of followers and visitors, whose recommendation try to make it a photograph.
You mean the word that you asked me later earlier today? Okay, Brenda is wondering about the following, Bob, and then I'll step in here. Brenda was wondering. She has, like I said, a number of followers, about nearly 400 visitors, 400,000
Yeah.
visitors, or something like that, right?
Wow.
Okay, yeah, and she's doing a great work in terms of promoting and improving the site, but she's wondering about the profitability, what steps to start taking towards making this project a profitable one. Okay, you already mentioned, Bob, that it's going to take hard work. It might happen, it might not happen, but still, Brenda would like to have an idea of at least the direction that she would need to take. What steps do you think she or other entrepreneurs should take in order to eventually accomplish some profitability?
Well, first of all, I'd say if you've got 400,000 followers, you should be very proud. That's an enormous number of people to interact with. So that's a fantastic community and quite an achievement in itself. So now that you have a following of an enormous number, you know, I don't know. We haven't described what the site does, et cetera. So I'm kind of doing this in a vacuum. But so you have a pipeline of a huge number of people. The question is, what do they want? So you're giving them something that they want already. Now you have to start testing ways to monetize that. Is it a product? Is it a service? If it's just because they enjoy interacting with the content that you're providing, and again, I don't really know much about it, can you get advertisers to pay to get in front of that audience? Can they put a logo on your website? Can they stream things about the bottom? Can you sell them email addresses? 400,000 people is an enormous audience. I would love to have 400,000 followers, and I don't yet. So maybe you and I should talk, Brenda. But the point is that there are a variety of ways to monetize those relationships depending on what it is that the site actually does. And again, in a vacuum, if you have an idea, you test it. You constantly change pricing to see that what is the intersection between the price that you want and the price that they're willing to buy, and you keep playing with it until you can maximize the number of people that are going to execute at that price. If you think you can build advertising around it, I would think with 400,000 people interacting with your site, I don't care what kind of business you have, and I haven't even seen it or know anything about it, you already have something that you have valuable relationships that can be marketed. Whether it's via advertising or selling products where you get a commission basis for other retailers. There's a variety of things that you can do with that. Again, I don't really know what the site does, and if you want to tell me, maybe I can help you think it through more. I would offer this, Carlos. If it's easier for Brenda just to talk to you in Spanish and you want to translate it to me, that's fine with me too. Whatever's going to be most effective for her, because I want to be able to answer her questions, and if that would help her, then I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Bob. Well, Brenda, there you have it. Although we always try to, our teammates, we try to encourage them to use the English language for obvious reasons, because that's our 100% of our clients are in the U.S., and so we have a bilingual culture that we try to foster and encourage. So, but again, because it's a special occasion, then I would just pretty much let Brenda decide. Although Brenda, you probably know that I'm gonna push you to use the English language, but that's okay. I just want you to relax and feel comfortable with what we're doing. And like Bob said, if you have the questions you want to ask me in Spanish or in Skype, and then I can translate, so that's fine. Either way, whichever works, as long as you convey your idea.
Yeah, whatever you guys are comfortable with. I just want to be able to help Brenda as much as I can.
There you go. Thank you so much, Bob. Well, Brenda, is there anything else you would like to ask Bob about this? About how to succeed at a tech startup?
Ok, lo voy a decir en español. Eh, bueno, sería para los que inician un nuevo startup, que el que les recomienda para al momento de presentarlo ah, puedan captar la atención para que de alguna manera puedan invertir o creer en esa idea.
Okay, Brenda is wondering if there is a more convenient or a best way to when someone is starting a startup, of course, when someone is just starting out and wishes to present this idea to, let's say, a group of investors or someone with the money, with the cash. Okay, so is there a best way to do it in order to increase the odds of getting a positive outcome of this?
Yeah, but again, I kind of answer it in a different way, like I did your first question.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry if I'm a little circular, but
No, that's okay. That's okay.
uh, I think I think one shouldn't approach investors until one has a very firm grasp of their business model
Hmm.
and has already invested a significant amount of their own money and time into developing out that business model and gaining traction.
Hmm.
And there's a couple of reasons why, but the biggest one is that the more traction that you actually have, the more that someone can invest in it. The earlier you do this, you're asking someone to evaluate an idea, and an idea and a business are two very different things. So long before you decide to go to investor, you need to have um, been in the market in some way, either through testing the product or through commercial sales for a while, pivoting many times, changing the business model and improving it. You need to have done that a while and to have a demonstrable track record before you go talk to investors. So that's my kind of caveat, like I did a minute ago. Now, let's just assume that you've already done that. Okay? So let's say that you have a good command of your business. You understand your market. You understand how your product solves a problem in the market. You understand how you should price your product relative to the market. Um, you further understand what the operational issues are going to be internally within your business, as to who is going to do what and who you have on your team and who you need on your team need for your team in order for it to succeed. That's the point that you go to market, and that is what the money will be used for. The money will be used for expanding, proving your business model and adapting your product market fit, um, expanding your market share over time, and scaling up your internal infrastructure. In other words, adding people to your team. And the most effective ways of doing that are finding, angel groups or seed series investors that will invest in that. But again, there's kind of a stage here. Stage one is you have to, what we call in the U.S., bootstrap this. You're going to have to self-fund this for a pretty long time first. And some people say, well, I have a great idea. Why can't I raise money? It's possible if you have like an earth-changing idea that you could just get people to invest in your idea. Most people don't have that. So most people want to have seen that you invested your own time and money for a considerable period of time before they'll invest in you. And the real reason is simply, if you didn't, why should they? So, so the stages are: you invest in yourself, then you do what's called friends and family round. Then you go get your friends and family, or as we jokingly refer to it here in the States, as friends and family and fools. Then that's the next stage. So it's yourself, then friends and family. Then you go get, say, what we would call angel money, and you approach an angel group. And typically angel groups will invest in companies that are within about a 1.5-hour radius of them, say within a 100-mile radius. And the reason is because they want to be actively involved. And the best way to do that is, there's a couple of ways. One is through, say, putting together a good pitch deck, Brenda. So, PowerPoint or whatever you want to do in it. But a good pitch deck is only about 15 slides, and really the first is your cover page, and the last one is your contact information. So it's only about 13, 14, 15 slides in there, and those slides talk about what we talked about a minute ago. What's the market? What's the problem you're solving? Who are your competitors? What are the barriers to entry? What would your forecast look over 5 years? How are you going to use the money? How much will you burn a month? How long will the money last you? Who is the team? And this is hugely important. Who's the team? Like, it's a great idea, but how's it going to get done? I mean, yeah, you're smart, but like we all only know what we know. So who's going to do the things you don't know? Like, you may be great at marketing, but you might be awful at operations. So most of the time, investors are investing in one of two things and then some combination of them on a continuum. They're investing in the concept, which is the business concept, or the team. And it's a combination of how good one or the other is that, you know, you can have a great concept and a bad team, and a great team and a bad concept. Some of those are always investable, depending on how strong they are. And then the other thing that the deck should explain is, how are you going to take this to market? Like, what are the channels it's going to be distributed through? You know, is you going to do online? You know, you're going to use, you know, inbound marketing, SEO, you know, and are you going to do outbound marketing? Are you going to have a sales force? Are you going to use value-added resellers? Like, how is this thing going to actually get out of your head and into the market and sold and converted to dollars? And when I look at decks, that is the single piece that misses most, and that people really don't explain. Okay, what's the process for actually monetizing this? So doing pitch decks is the typical tool. Now, in the U.S., there's another tool that you probably have as well, and that is people have online portals now, like Gust is one, and Venture 360 is another. And most of the angel groups in the United States use some version of this. Gust is used by a lot. And basically, it's an online portal where you go in and put required information about your startup, and sometimes you can append a deck to that. But it's a uniform format, and so angel groups get hundreds of these applications a year, and then they kind of say, well, we want to look at these 4 or 5 this month. And so one of those two tools is how you're going to end up having to communicate with investor. Probably you'll need a deck regardless, because if you don't need it if they have a Gust portal, you're going to need the deck for your presentation when you finally meet them. So having a good deck is the critical communication tool for interfacing with investors.
Okay, great. That's great insight. And I'd like to pause for 1 second, Bob. We have a question from the audience.
Sure.
Let me just read it back to you, and then you can respond. Okay, the question says, on a personal note, what advice would you give? Let me just put on my glasses. Otherwise, I'll read something else. Okay, on a
these
personal
help,
note,
don't they? I said these help, don't they?
Oh yeah, indeed. Well, yeah, when you get to a certain age, like
you realize all three of us are wearing glasses.
Yeah. And I just turned 19, so
yeah, me too.
I'm older. Okay, now well, just here it is. On a personal note, what advice would you give yourself if you could go back to when you were younger for 1 minute and 1 minute only?
Okay, I'm a difficult person. I never answer questions directly. I never play reflective what-if things, and I don't like hypotheticals because I can't go back in time, so it's pointless what I would tell myself when I was 20. So if the person is 20 and would like to know what advice I would give them, then I would say a couple of things that have been important to me just about my life. And sometimes that's about things that I know or things that I failed and wished I knew. I'd say, first of all, that you are who you surround yourself with. So therefore, surround yourself with the best people possible. And that is that's in terms of their value system and their knowledge and or their kindness. There's lots of things that people can provide you in life that are benefit to you. So you are reflective of the people that you surround yourself with, and life is short. So don't, surround yourself with the best people possible and that you can learn the most from, and that we're going to better you as a human or better you in your profession. And this is true of the companies that you decide to work for and the people you decide to socialize with. So that's one thing I would say. The second thing I would say is that you can be brilliant and you can be a lot of things in life, but for the most part, success is a function of hard work. Unless you're really the rare genius, and if you are the rare genius listening, please contact me afterwards. But unless you're the rare genius, most people are going to get through life by being kind to others, helping others, and working harder than others. Many, many times I have worked places where I definitely knew that I was not anywhere close to being the smartest person in the room, but I knew that I could probably outwork most of the people, and I could somehow get the smarter people to buy into what we were doing and help us succeed. So, hard work really matters a lot. And I'm sorry if I sound to the listener like his father.
Well, maybe he's Luke.
Yeah, but it's true.
Okay. As for myself, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions myself, Bob, if it's okay.
Sure.
Okay. And two things. The first one is, because I've heard a lot these types of ideas, especially younger folks, younger people who are very energetic, maybe usually fresh out of college. They have these tons of ideas. They're twirling around their heads, etc. And they have this idea that they want to be like, I'm going to be the next Facebook. I'm going to build the next Twitter, right?
Yeah,
I'm going to overrule, or I'm going to overthrow with Twitter because mine is going to be better. So they have this dreams of grandiose about doing something really great.
Right.
But I mean, I know it ties into the realism part, but still, I mean, in terms of because there are people who think I want to be the next Facebook, and they picture themselves like being richer than Mark Zuckerberg. So what would you say to these folks? What would you tell these folks?
Look, as I said earlier, I don't like dampening enthusiasm, but I do want people to be realistic. But if you're convinced that your idea is that good, then you must be a very self-confident person or delusional. And if you're delusional, you need to get some medication. But if you really think that, then even Mark Zuckerberg had to surround himself with incredibly intelligent people, and he ended up raising money in Silicon Valley, which is the premier place on the planet to raise money. So, if you really think you got that game, then step up and be prepared to compete. And so, you can have these grandiose. Look, if you really think you got it, all right, prove it. Step up and do it. And it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder than people think. I would say, proving your concept to depending on the business and how, but proving your concept to a relative statistical sample of users will help you confirm whether or not you're going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg or Bob Zuckerberg. I mean, look, if you think you got it, go for it, but realize it's not just you. It's going to have to be a fantastic team around you. And then when you raise money, you're not just buying money, because that's what raising money is. People don't give you money, you buy money. Never forget that. When you go and raise money, you want to get investors that are going to be incredibly good partners for you. They're not just investing in you. You want investors that have something you don't. They have relationships in certain markets to help you commercialize your product. They have knowledge of your vertical. They have some kind of operational expertise. They need to have different skill sets than you and better relationships than you to help your business. And those are critical to your success. It's not just giving you money. Giving you money, for most startups, giving them money doesn't do them much good. And as a matter of fact, in some cases, it does them harm because they don't know what to do with it properly.
Okay, great, Bob. So let's say, okay, I'm in a startup. I know that I don't want to be, because I'm realistic, I don't want to be the next Facebook, but I want to leave an imprint in society, in today's world. I want to leave something, worthy. How do I do it? Which is easier? Let me rephrase my thoughts, okay? Say that I want to leave an imprint in today's world. I want to do something good for mankind, for society, in the technology realm. So I have this idea for an app that was going to solve this and this problem, etc. How do you think that leaving an imprint in society, creating something worthy of use to a lot of people, how can it be more easily accomplished? By means of having this empire builder mindset, or maybe I just want to create a lifestyle business?
Look, these, to me, it's a very philosophical question, and I don't measure success by the amount of wealth they create. If you want to make an impact on society, do one good deed a day. I mean, if everyone, if everyone did one good deed for others a day, the world would be a much better place. And so why that sounds very simple, like something you'd say to a 3 or 4-year-old. When you go about thinking about how you want to make the world a better place, keep that simple thought in mind. That would actually make the world a better place. Anything you do more than that, you're really making the world a much better place. So in terms of your business, how are you going to create a business that impacts others? Any business that employs people and puts them to positive use and creates a product or a service that others are willing to buy, by definition, must be valuable to society, or it wouldn't be purchased. That's not entirely true, but employing people and working on a team in pursuit of a goal makes a group better. That's contributing to society. You don't have to go and create Facebook and give it away for free or something to impact society. I think things are relative, so I would measure it differently, than saying it has to be an empire world changer. I think that you can impact society in many great ways, large and small, and all of them are very valuable.
Great, excellent.
I probably haven't given you one single answer to a question today that you wanted.
No, actually, no, that's perfectly fine. Let me tell you something, Well, I'm not really after a particular type of answer or response. Actually, I'm just kind of throwing questions at you, things that are twirling around my head as well as the audience's. So that's what this is all about. I mean, this is about generating or brainstorming a fine set of ideas that could help us do what we do better, basically, right? So it's about that. In the end, it's if I throw at you a challenging question or something like that, it's not because I want to hear a specific or going to listen to a specific answer. It's because I might be teasing you, right? Trying to elicit your own question, your own response in your own terms, which is okay. So that's what we're here for, right? Okay. So we're about to approach the final segment, the final 10 minutes of our broadcast today, and I'd like to go back to both you and Brenda, and of course you, Bob, with the topic of the day, which is how to succeed at tech startups. So, is there anything else you would like to tell our audience in how to accomplish just that? I mean, besides everything we have discussed, everything you have mentioned, is there anything else you would like to share, or do you think it's pertinent to share with our audience today in order to accomplish what we're trying to pursue here in today's topic?
Well, look, we've asked some questions that I have given kind of philosophical answers to, and so I would say kind of more directly, in order to succeed as a tech startup, you have to, in order to succeed in any business, you have to solve somebody's problem. So, you have to understand your market and understand your customer. What is it that they want? And if it's a commercial enterprise and not, say, social entrepreneurship, what is it they're willing to pay you for? And how do you constantly hear that and constantly respond to that? And so, which means that you have to have systems in place that gather the data to understand what is attracting interest from your pool of people, like Brenda's 400,000 amazing followers, or you have to have systems that help you, that you can drill into that data to determine needs, and you constantly pivot and fine-tune your business to keep matching up and offering services at prices that people are getting really willing to purchase for. The other thing is that you have to also constantly be apprised of what your competitors are doing, so that you can be one step ahead of them at all times, which takes market intelligence, and it takes money to do that. So there's not one thing that I would say that they need to do to be successful as a tech entrepreneur. I mean, obviously they need to have good technology, and obviously they need to have a really good team, and obviously they need to work really, really hard. But understanding and constantly reacting to your customer base will constantly keep your business nimble and moving forward and one step ahead of your competitors.
Okay, great. Brenda, what about you, Brenda? Do you have anything else you would like to ask Bob about what we're talking about today?
No.
Tell us, what about this? I have to say this, Brenda. Okay, this is
Desde el ring.com.
thing, right? Again, let me resort to the low-tech device here, which is very cheap. Okay.
It's a sport website, boxing.
Right.
Mm.
And what can we find in there, Brenda?
It's a what is what?
What do we find if I go here to this link, to this URL? What am I going to find here? Why should I visit this site?
I don't know. No te entiendo.
Okay, just tell me. If I go here to this link, why I, as an enthusiast, as a boxing enthusiast, what am I going to find in here? What type of information or services, or what type of content do you have?
It's content to information for the favorite boxing.
Boxing, specifically about boxing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you have 400,000 followers and visitors. How do you do that?
Bueno, en Facebook son más de 72,000.
Facebook, about 72,000 people.
Ajá. En Twitter, 25,000.
20 grand, 25,000 in Twitter.
Y visitas diarias desde 10 hasta casi 30,000 visitas diarias.
Okay, from 10,000 to 30,000 visits per day. Whoa, those are very good numbers. So maybe you and I can sit down later and discuss how we can do that for DojoLIVE.
Well, knowing that, what I would say to Brenda is that then you need to be identifying with retailers who have products and services to sell those 30,000 people that are visiting your site, and you get a commission for any of the transactions that pass through that. And then you can also be selling ads for not just people that are interested in boxing, but people that are interested in boxing also have a high overlap with other things, and you can figure out what those are, and those people need to be your advertisers. If you have that kind of traffic, it's very monetizable.
Okay. My principal visit is in the United States.
Oh, okay.
From the U.S., great. Yeah, there are a lot of boxing fans out there. They have these huge events in Vegas and other places. So yeah, I truly believe you. Okay, Bob, we're about to close today's broadcast. So what I would like to do now is simply give you a huge thank you for having agreed to talk to us today. And I think your insights and your expertise were extremely valuable. I'm sure they're going to be for our audience and for whoever visits the site at a further down the road. And again, I want to remind the audience that to visit SUP-X.org to get more information on what, in case they're interested in attending, is either as an exhibitor or as an attendee for networking purposes, for everything we've talked about today. There's your place to go, and now is the time because the time it's approaching. When is this happening, Bob? The expo, SUP-X.
It's February 16th and 17th, so it's about 2 months away.
Okay.
And our early bird ticket sales end on December 15th. So right now you could get a ticket as cheap as $99 to that event for 2 days, which is a fantastic deal, given the scale and given the content that'll be available.
There you have it. Yeah. So we're gonna make sure that all these pieces of information are clearly stated and mentioned, and in our upcoming networking social media efforts. And again, Bob, thank you. Appreciate it so much from the bottom of my heart. Brenda, again, you're a sweetheart, and appreciate your enthusiasm, Brenda, and your willingness to be here today. I think your presence was very valuable as well, as an encouragement to all those younger startuppers. I call them startuppers. Those who are enthusiasts about the startup world. So Brenda, Bob, thank you both, and I look forward to having you again sometime in the future.
Thank you very much, Carlos. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Absolutely. Our pleasure. Brenda, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.